Hello, everybody. Welcome live on twitch.tv/Vince Russo live and live on my YouTube stream, Pyro and Ballyhoo. I am here with the great Billy Body from podcastonapole.com, from lockbetting.com, from dirtysheets.com. Billy, what's fascinating to me? All of a sudden, where I'm doing castrating the marks this week, and all of a sudden I'm hearing Wade Keller talk about Nick Khan. Bro, didn't you tell us about Nick Khan like 6 months ago, bro?
Yeah, when Nick Khan was it's because of the Peacock deal where nobody caught on to the sign. I was talking about the signing of Nick Khan because the guys I talked to were telling me what this could mean. Like so I will give you like stuff ahead of time. I'm not like reactive to like an incident happening. Like with my sources, because they really are internal. They knew what the rumblings and the noise and what this might, because they're not going to sign Nick Khan. Nick Khan's not going to come over and sit on his ass for 3 years and earn all of that money. He's going to make moves, and they knew that moves were being made. In terms of the other story I did is I said at the same time, or at least before, I think, was that WWE were interested in being on a streaming network. If you remember me saying, but so yeah, all of this was in the works in the background, but these dirt sheets are all reactive. And then what annoys me the most is, fine, okay, you weren't able to get the information before, you didn't know the significance of Nick Khan, or you didn't care, or you didn't know, or whatever. But then it's when Dave especially does stuff like, yeah, he was brought in for this and he was brought in for that, and the plan is this and the plan is that, and it's like, why are you talking about the plan afterwards? Like, you're now making up shit. Like, I was straight off the bat what I said. They've signed this guy, he's going to make moves or whatever. And now Dave will say, oh, I always knew about it, and I always knew what they were planning, and I heard this and I heard that. Well, then why didn't you give it to people for $10.99 when they're paying you? If you knew, he didn't know. Like, it's always a case of, once something happens, he'll tell you, he'll make up a story about, first of all, that he knew, then about what he heard while it was going on, which he didn't tell you about. Then he'll tell you what the plan is going forward as fact, instead of saying, in my opinion,
Right.
Nick Khan is going to do this, that, and the other. He'll say, oh, I was told that they're going to be doing this, we're going to be doing that. Whereas right off the bat, I turned around and said to you, Nick Khan is there. They got him from CAA agency, and this is going to be a big deal. The very first reason that you sign him is because in negotiations that you have moving forward, you no longer have to pay the agency the 10 or 15% fee. You just pay Nick Khan's salary. But it was pretty obvious that, seeing as the USA negotiations are a certain amount of time away, and we know the Fox negotiations are around about 3.5 years away, you would steal Nick Khan nearer the negotiation times if you didn't have plans right now. So the fact that they hired him in 2020 immediately told my sources that something's going on now in 2020, 2021. But the dirt sheets just sat on their asses, and now everybody knows who Nick Khan is. Well, welcome to like Russo's brand, where you knew 4 months ago. Like, it's annoying.
And bro, you know what the funny thing was, bro? Like, Wade Keller was cutting a promo on Nick Khan, like he doesn't know the wrestling business, and I'm like, bro, why are you cutting a promo on a guy, A, you don't even know, B, you don't even know what his duties are, and C, can we see what the guy does before you cut a promo on it? Like, immediately he was cutting promos on this guy, bro.
He's already made, like, in one deal, he's made more money than Tony Khan will make in 5 years. Like, Tony Khan hasn't made any money at all, and yet wasn't he called the genius and the person that that WCW needed to stay in business and all this kind of bullshit? It's all narrative. Like, I've come to terms, and I've come to peace with the fact that these guys are full of shit, and they'll write their own narrative and everybody else will go along with it. The bottom line I always say is this: AEW and other companies over in Japan will let Dave and Alvarez and all these other dirt sheet marks through the door. WWE will allow them to have media credentials and sit in very, very tailor-made conference calls where they're allowed to ask certain questions, and they're allowed and they'll get certain answers for their dirt sheets or whatever, and that's it. And they are not happy with that because the other companies will let them through the door. So what the idea is to bury this company. There's lots to bury them for. The product is shit, but they want to bury this company from every single side because they want to bring up the company that will allow them the access. Well, I got news for you. If AEW ends up by some miracle doing 3 million viewers a week and they become massively commercialized and they end up trading on the stock exchange and becoming a massive global company like WWE are, then you ain't getting to get that kind of access. Tony Khan's not coming on your podcasts and being Mr. Mark and Mr. Wrestling Fan or whatever. But you see, I don't know if any point talking about it, because this guy and this company are never, ever, ever going to get there because their approach is not business orientated from a guy who has more business credentials than Vince does. But obviously they were all like handed to him. If it was his dad in this position, if his dad had bought the wrestling company, then I think we'd be looking at something different because his dad is very money orientated.
Billy, I swear to God, I got a new show now, Billy, on my Patreon. It's called Better Call Khan. And every time, Billy, there's like late breaking Tony Khan news, I report on it. Billy, you and I sit here every week and we talk about, bro, this is a dude, owns the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Premier Soccer League, AEW, a wrestling company. Bro, this guy was on a podcast this past week called Wrestling Fetish, literally because Conan said something about his booking. So this guy was on a podcast called Wrestling Fetish, bro, to stand up for his booking. And I'm like, bro, are you kidding me? Like, you own 3 major sports outlets and you're on this show called Wrestling Fetish to defend your booking over something Conan. Like, Billy, it's the most bizarre thing I've ever. Can you imagine Vince McMahon going on these nonsensical podcasts, bro, to defend his booking of Raw?
Not even when he was struggling. Like Vince, we talk over on Podcast and a Poll about how you got Vince to say that Vince was, Vince, owner of the company, in an edition of his own Raw magazine, right? And you were explaining, you've told us how that was a hard sell. Vince, be Vince in your own company. This is what we need to do. We need to make it more real. That's what's going to work for us. You gave us the whole spiel that you had to go through. Like, it was when you were explaining to us, when you said that Vince never came, nobody came to you with anything, ideas for Raw magazine. You came to them. Mm-hmm. And on his own publication, you needed to convince Vince at his worst time in the business, right off the back of the steroid trial. And we're linking into Mantar, Duke the Dumpster Drosy, Doink the Clown, the Body Donners. This is the characters that we have on TV. I want you guys, it's only 30-minute Rumble. Go and watch the 95 Raw Rumble and see the people that are in the 1995 Raw Rumble. It's Shawn Michaels wins it. It's only 1-minute entries. It's like 35 minutes long for the whole Rumble. Just see if you can, if you know any of the people in there, and go and see how many people have occupations and things of that nature. It's really atrocious, the 95 Rumble, in terms of characters and whatnot. But yeah, this is just a little bit after that, 12 months later, and Vince going to do that. So yeah, he didn't give this kind of exposure, and that's the thing. That's the whole thing that worked back then. This whole overexposure where Lacey Evans is married to her husband on Twitter and she's doing videos of her little girl, but she's being like a babyface on TV and is having an affair with Ric Flair. That doesn't really work because, okay, I'm not saying that, I'm not being Mr. Jim Cornette here and saying, oh, we need to be traditional and we need to completely have kayfabe and we need to put heels on a bus and baby faces on a bus. That's Cornette, right? Okay, we know what Cornette is, but also they shouldn't be over here just completely destroying the believability of everything. We could find a convenient like middle where people are told, look, if you're a heel, don't like be playing with your children for during this time. At least give a little shit about your product. If you give a shit, I might give a shit, right? That just give a little tiny bit of effort into your product and clearing up the loose ends, etc., and making it flow. But they don't do that, and that's the biggest issue that they have. But this is the problem when this whole business became overexposed. There was one thing about way back in the 80s, if you remember the story, where Vince McMahon declared themselves as entertainment in order to pay lower taxes for the rest of the longevity of the WWF. That makes sense, right? It's not worth paying $20 or $30 million extra, which was a lot of money back then, just to turn around and say, hey, we are a real sport. It's stupid. We know you're not. That's one thing. But where we're at now, it damages the product significantly. And then when you've got Khan going on everything, the owner, talking about storylines, making himself available to every single person, he may think he's doing the right thing. He's may thinking I'm being the anti-Vince and I'm making myself Mr. Available, like I'm making myself the everyman. Well, I don't think people want an everyman to own their company. They want to see it in the hands of someone responsible. They want the wrestlers to be special. They want Vince McMahon is this pioneering, enigmatic figure that we don't understand. Vince Russo worked for him for 4 years and doesn't fully understand him, right? And that's part of the charm and part of the reason why, despite the fact that obviously the business is not in its best position at the moment, there has been moments of genius. And when we're at the point, where it's not working like this, all these question marks are asked because he has so much tenure for the genius that he did create. Even obviously the Attitude Era is partly responsible down to your brainchild and the talents that you had to work with. But prior to that, to his credit, he still put the 90,000 people in the Silver Dome and took it off his dad and bought out the territories and was, ruthless in some ways, but it was successful what he did initially. But he's been living off that magic since 1991. And since then, it's been a lot of piecing shit together or having a lot of people coming to help him, like yourself and Brian Gerwitz and other people that put shit together for him. But without those geniuses around, like Gerwitz and Russo's and all those guys, this is the shit that we have now. So, but the fact is that at least he has that legacy of success. Tony Khan has nothing. Tony Khan, I don't want to hear from you. I don't give a fuck what your opinion of wrestling is because it's no more relevant than mine. I've watched it for 30 years and I could book better than you if I had $70 million, $100 million to throw down the toilet, but I wouldn't. Even if my passion was wrestling, I would still have the brain and common sense to prioritize Fulham Football Club and the Jacksonville Jaguars as multi-million billion-dollar businesses over doing shitty podcasts with Marks. It's completely illogical. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. And bro, it just makes me laugh, bro, because Dixie Carter on her worst day would not go on the wrestling whatever they're called, wrestling fetish. Dixie was very, very selective of where she did interviews. She did them few.
I remember.
I
met her at a bar. I reached out to her, and she goes, "Hey, I don't do these things, but you can have Jeremy Borash will come on the day sheets."
Yeah, exactly. But yet Dixie is buried for being a complete idiot, and this guy is revered, and it blows my mind. It blows my mind, and it's Billy. It's exactly what you said, and I've said this a million times, bro. If anybody had $100 million, $10 million, $20 million to blow, they could have done exactly what Tony Khan has done. He's literally done nothing. The only reason he's done what he's done is because his dad had the cash. outside of that, bro, anybody, bro, and listen, I'll be honest with you, bro. Anybody could have done what he did if they had the money. And I guarantee you, probably 80% of those people would have been more successful than he has been right now. And Billy, let me tell you another thing. You know, your buddy, I know you're good friends with Dave Meltzer. Bro, these guys got to stop with the excuses because they're sounding more and more stupid. Of course, last week, Billy, the AEW shit the bed, like 741,000 fans. Shit the bed. Bro, Meltzer blamed that on the impeachment trial.
Yeah.
Okay, bro. So this week, there's no impeachment. Bro, they did 6,000 viewers more. 6,000. Okay, so what are we blaming on this week? Bro, they've got to stop because these excuses get more and more and more lame. There are 700,000 people out there that give a shit about this product and the presentation of wrestling in this form. Nobody else cares. And Tony Khan, bro, he did an interview a couple of weeks ago talking about the ratings going up. Where, bro? Where the freak are ratings going up? The ratings have been going down, bro, since show 1 up to their last show. And I'm just, my God, bro, the smoke and the mirrors of trying to make this something that it's just not. I'm just sick of it, bro.
And I got roped into it this week. I felt, because I heard everybody, or not everybody, but these dirt sheets that I have to track and see what they're saying, etc., talking about Kenta's in and what a main event this week with Moxley and I can't remember who against Kenta and Omega. So I tried to watch the show. Whether it was this week's or last week's. I didn't even know what I was watching. I have them all on like DVR, and I just couldn't get through it. Like, there's these fucking tag matches that they just throw in, and they're like 20 minutes. And Cody Rhodes is teaming up with a jobber. I don't know if you know remember what I'm talking about. Cody Rhodes.
I don't watch the show anymore, but I saw there was a 4-man tag. There was a tag match. Cody was one of the guys. I had no idea who the other 3 guys were.
Yeah, it was a jobber. It was a jobber tag team, and he was teaming with a jobber, and the jobber thanked him and Brad. After the match, they cut a promo. He was like, "Thank you for giving me this chance. Thank you to Brandy. Thank you to the Rhodes family." It was like a blowy, like, on screen. Like, it was like he made him cut like a shoot promo, just thanking the whole Rhodes family. He might as well have thanked Tony Khan for putting him on TV, because that's how like backstagey you tried to be, but it didn't work. It's like they're always trying to do this kind of shoot stuff, like this shoot worked stuff on TV, but shoot worked only works when it comes as a big surprise. Like, that you can't have 15 work shoot angles running through your like entire show. You have to pick and choose. Some people just have to have matches on there, and then when you do see this work shoot segment coming through, then that accentuates the important storylines that you're trying to do. You can't have this inconsistency throughout the show. But apart from me picking apart this little promo and stories, it was just littered with shitty matches that I didn't want to see. And then everybody's talking about what a great main event it was between Archer and Moxley and Kenta and Omega. If this had been on Raw, nobody would have said anything. Like, so they're going to a kitchen and backstage, and they're fighting in this kitchen and everything. Like, who cares? Like, it's like the 24/7 title stuff.
Well, Billy, like the quarter hours, bro, the Kenta match in the last 2 quarter hours, bro, those were the 2 lowest rated segments on the show.
Yeah, well, I nobody cares about Kenta, I don't think.
Yeah. All right, Billy, enough about us ranting. What's going on the Dirty Sheets? What are we going to talk about this week? Bro, we're getting into nitty-gritty. We're getting a WrestleMania season, bro. A lot going on. What's the skinny, bro?
The main story is how little is going on in terms of not in a sense that, hold on, these are my old notes. You bring my updated notes because there were a couple of things that came through. All right.
Richard Jan I want to quote Richard Janvrin. Richard is a longtime friend of the show, and Richard had a great quote right here. Richard, I saw this right away when you put this up. AEW is to wrestling as SNL is to comedy. Bro, that's you hit the nail on the head, Richard. And think about what SNL used to be and think about what pro wrestling used to be. But you hit the nail on the head. Go ahead, Billy.
Okay, so we're going to recover the Patreon deal. I'm going to use an updated report that I put out on Patreon this week. There have been some changes in terms of the way they're going to roll this out. Now, this was going to happen because they were very vague about how they were going to transition people over. This does make it more worthwhile to Peacock when we look at the new details that have come through. But initially, when I did my Peacock report, this
Billy, time out for a second. Time out. Would you like to cut an impromptu promo?
On what?
Okay. First of all, bro, listen, I got to tell you guys, there are some great people on YouTube, but bro, I got to be honest with you, there are a bunch of effing idiots. Like seriously, bro, how you can come on YouTube and be an effing idiot? Do you know how invaluable you are telling us all of your time is? That you have nothing else. Bro, I cannot even think about how useless your time is because it's very sad to me. So, Billy, please address this. It was 2 separate tweets. Fight Capital News came on, and here's their first tweet. Hey, Russo, you reading from Ringside News again? Good vibes. And then the guy comes back and says, go and block that LOL. Billy, will you care to take care of this for me?
The same guy. Didn't we bury this guy before? I'm sure he works for Ringside. I think it's actually Steve Carrier under an alias. Look, I don't think I don't think that if I even put you know how your phone remembers all of your internet history, which is why you shouldn't give it to your children, but that's why my son has his own phone. But yeah, I think if you put RIN into my phone, it still wouldn't clone onto Ringside News. If you put the word ring in my browser, it wouldn't put up Ringside News. I don't check that shitty site. I don't barely check anything. I only really am interested in what Meltzer and Johnson are saying. And the fact is that those secondary news items will be picked up with every single one of these joke dirt sheets. Look, the access that these dirt sheets get, they get to fucking sit on Triple H's conference call, wait their turn, and ask a question that they're allowed to ask, right? It doesn't mean anything. That's what you get from being Ringside News, no DQ, whatever. Ringside News in particular is run by a real piece of shit who steals as much as he possibly can, who will sit on my Patreon and not just steal information. He will copy and paste it because he's too lazy to rewrite it. He'll literally plagiarize and steal pictures. So I've already buried this site before. And if you're actually, I have more respect for you if you are Steve and you're coming on here and you're making comments and you're trying to get your site over and we're acknowledging it. But if you're a fan of a dirt sheet and you're coming on here and you're campaigning for a dirt sheet, what kind of life do you actually have? What's the point? I'm not trying to I'm not trying to get people to ask any questions in the mirror and think what's the point of your life, but at least make it more worthwhile. I'm telling you, there is so much better things to do than to sit here and troll us. I can't. Yeah, I mean, Russo said everything in terms of
and listen, I wanted to, Crowded King of France says ignore them and block them. When you address it, it distracts you. Crown King, listen, it doesn't distract me, bro. I don't ignore them and block it because I think it's funny. I literally think it's funny that people their time is so little valuable that they come on here and they talk about Ringside News. So I'm not distracted. I think it's funny. That's why I pointed out. All right, go ahead, Billy. Pick it up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm the same. I don't block people because I like to just see, if it's never going to be coming from, I've convinced myself it's never going to be coming from somebody who's above you financially or in terms of their emotional state. They're not going to be happier than you, they're not going to be more successful than you're not going to be financially better than you. Look, I've just moved into a new place. I'm not doing it here now, but I'm moving it over the road. I have no mortgage on that place. Like, so I'm completely done now. Like, I have no reason to work anymore. And I'm not even 40 yet. So obviously, as much of a prick or a dickhead or a moron or whatever you want to throw at me, I must have done something right at this point, because I don't need to go and work for anybody ever again, right? And you probably do. And you probably are desperate to go and work for somebody because you're sitting at home on a Friday and you don't have a job. So, I mean, if somebody, I understand some people are like furloughed and they're, you know, they're sitting here now, or they, you know, their schedule allows them to work. And some people obviously getting to catch up with this not live. But whatever you want to say about me, I think to be in that position now, I really don't give a shit. So that's my bottom line. Like, it's easy come, easy go, whether it be for this show, Dirty Sheets, sports gambling podcasts. Like, I know that I'm secure in all three places. But if somebody was to turn around and say, hey, Billy, we don't want you anymore, it's all good, because there's still other places to be. So that's the thing. You're not going to be working in three high profile places if you're a moron who doesn't know what he's doing. So I'm like you. I don't give a shit about it. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I just think it's funny. But go ahead, Billy. So what else are we going to get on Dirty Sheets?
Yeah, so I'm going to recover that Peacock deal because there's been changes about it. Those changes came through the quarterly call, and they're very like undercover. But there is going to be more information about how this rollout's going to work. I'm going to talk about how WWE screwed over their employees today. Not talking about the wrestlers particularly, but I'm talking about the people working behind the scenes.
Oh, interesting.
And what happened with them. I'm going to talk about Seth Rollins quite a bit and how he's a complete mess. I'm going to double down on my theory that there was a late plan for him to win the Royal Rumble and explain a little bit more about that. And I'm going to explain a little bit about the confusion regarding the Mania direction, with sources still saying one thing and what I see on TV is telling me another. And I just want to read you a quote from the Austin Report this week, which kind of summarizes that. I'll just start from here. Also on the show, we saw a really, really weird development when a tag team match between Lacey Evans and Peyton Royce versus Charlotte and Asuka was suddenly stopped when Lacey shockingly said she was pregnant. Ric Flair was also shocked, but then very happy and began dancing and wooing. I thought this is really weird, and my dad told me that she is actually really pregnant and is going to be out for a year. It's really hard for me to think of anything else that's worth putting in my article. It doesn't feel like WrestleMania time at all. Usually I am really excited for WrestleMania, but there is no matches to look forward to. Overall, this week was nothing more than basic, but that shouldn't be how it is near WrestleMania or SummerSlam. He's 10.
Wow, bro, that's crazy. That is crazy. All right, Billy, tell everybody about, you got a lot on your plate, bro. Tell everybody what's going on with everything you're doing, bro.
All right. What we got? We'll start with podcastonapoll.com, which the website is here. That now takes you to the Patreon page. The Patreon page of Podcast on a Poll is up running. Over there, we've got early access to episode 4. Episode 4 actually comes out on Sunday. I'll talk about that in a minute. Video access to episode 4, 3, 2, and 1. So you can watch the video for every single show. There's also bonus shows there called Superstar Profiles. At the moment, you can see bonus podcasts, bonus video casts with me, Vince, and Cav talking about Linda McMahon in one episode, the Ultimate Warrior in another episode, and Psycho Sid in another episode, with the Vader episode just 2 weeks away. So go over to Patreon and subscribe as well. There's also one package on there which allows you to actually come onto Podcast on a Poll in the future. So, I mean, go and have a look if that's something that you feel like doing. It's just one of the packages options on there. Aside from that, episode 4 does come out on Sunday. This episode talks about February 1997. Vince is literally days away from taking the job as the head writer, but also equally close to being fired. It was like borderline how Vince almost got fired, and then very, very shortly after, he actually became the head writer. And it's a bizarre story because throughout the show, and bearing in mind this is February 97, and he's going to become the writer just weeks into March, where there are multiple questions during the show where it's like, come on, is Vince patting you in the back? Was he like grooming you? Was there a particular conversation where you felt like he was going to bring you in as the main guy? it's none of that. Like you don't, you really will get a feel for the randomness and the out of the blueness of how Vince was actually so close to being fired, and then how the head writer job came on. Plus, at the same time for this episode, he's still writing Raw magazine, he's sitting on creative meetings, and he's working as a producer. So we get the ins and outs of Shawn Michaels losing his smile, relinquishing the title, the chaos heading into WrestleMania 13, everything that was going on TV at the time, the ins and outs of Bret Hart's character, all sorts of stuff here on his show, obviously with all the other characters in that time as well. And that's going to be the February 97 episode of Podcast on a Pole. Elsewhere, I'm over at thedirtysheets.com. The Peacock report that we're going to break down in detail on the other side with the new details as well is already over at thedirtysheets.com, but me and Vince are going to dissect it. You can also get yourself a combat betting package over there for boxing, UFC, and wrestling. There is boxing this weekend and WWE, so it's well worth getting that package. But all of my betting stuff is over at lockbetting.com. And as I said to you, I'm going to be fully transparent and honest. I don't think you should sign up for lockbetting.com on Saturday, the 20th of February. You're going to get 8 days for the monthly fee. I think you should sign up on March the 1st to get the entire month. We are making money every day in tennis and the NBA. We're making money in soccer, but NBA and tennis specifically is doing really well. And of course, there's WWE coming up at the weekend. So you will make money if you sign up. But if you want to maximize it, sign up to lockbetting.com on March the 1st.
Austin's Toys.
Yeah, Austin. This is my son's bedroom at his mum's house, because I've lived closer to him there. Like my house is being painted and decorated and getting furniture delivered and all sorts. So yeah, I'm sitting in my son's bedroom, and you can see like this kind of stuff in the background. This belt's signed by all the Universal champions up there in the picture.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
That's pretty cool. And this is a brand new piece, actually. This Roman piece. I don't know if you can see it.
Yep.
Yeah, so he wanted a good Roman piece with Heyman and Roman, but yeah, I mean, he talks about all of this stuff, including like action figures and where he meets him meeting the wrestlers and all that over at Austin's Toys. But this week he's also talking about Cobra Kai, and you can actually have a look at his how he's helped an artist paint his own bedroom this week.
That's awesome, bro.
Vince already had a look at that, but that's at Austin's Toys. Yeah.
All right, guys, we are now going to go over and, oh, man, this is loud. Billy, a lot of people are saying they're having trouble hearing your microphone a little bit on your end.
Oh.
So we might have to just talk in when we go to the next show. Hello, hello. Okay, yeah, I'm loud here too. All right, guys, we are going to hop over now to the nitty-gritty dirt show. We're going to get into all this news, bro, all the dirt, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Just go over, guys, to patreon.com/Vince Russo Live. That is it, everybody. For me and the great Billy Bate. We'll see you on the other side.